This week we're going to be teaching the cute trick, Say Your Prayers. Now you can either teach this trick on a bed or a stool or a chair, or you can have your dog say their prayers on your arm, which I think is actually the easier method to train. So another option is, should the dog be sitting pretty when they say their prayers, or should they be standing up on their back legs? So you can choose which you want your dog to do. Some dogs will find one easier than the other. Also, if your dog hasn't worked on the trick sit pretty before, they might not have as many back muscles, so if you have them sit and rest their paws on your arm, they might lean with all their weight, so it might be a good idea if your dog does that to train them the trick of sit pretty to work on their back muscles first, so you don't have to get weighed down on your arm. Okay, so free.
Step 1. Work on the initial paws up position.
So if you're going to work on the trick with the dog standing up, you simply have to refresh the dog about the cue, paws up. Trish, free. Paws up. Awesome. Now I'm holding the clicker in my hand. You can use a marker word, but I really suggest that you use a clicker that's not loud when you're working near your dog's ears, or you can completely hurt their ears or frighten them. So I put some poster tack in my clicker to make sure it's not too loud. Ready, Trish? Free. Paws up. Awesome. And I'm feeding her in the position, just like the paws up behavior in week 1. You can then also do paws up on a bed if you want, but because Trish always jumps up on this bed, I'm not just going to say paws up, because she might think to just jump up, thinking that it's the cue to jump up. So I'm actually going to sit here and face her to get her to do the paws up behavior. Trish, paws up. Awesome. So that's the standing position. If you want to teach your dog to sit and do paws up on the couch, which I think is really cute, it's a little bit more difficult if you use an object, but if you use your arm, you can simply ask the dog to sit. Awesome. And then I'm going to put my clicker away. You can either use a target or a lure and lure the dog onto your arm. If your dog knows left paw and right paw, you can also just cue them to give you their paw. So you could say wave, bye, good job. Now, if you ask for paws up, and the dog stands up, you can simply lure the dog back into the sitting position. Just said, I don't want to do it now. Sit, or say the cue sit, and reinforce them when they get back into the sitting position, and then highly reinforce them in that position. It's going to be a little bit tricky at first, so you don't, whenever I train, I don't ever tell my dog they're wrong, but you just show them what you do want if they do the wrong thing, which is sitting like that. Yes, good job. Now another thing is, as you can see, Trisha's like sticking her little nails into my arm, so you want to make sure to cut their nails. Oh, she's going to do the trick. That's cheating. You want to make sure to cut their nails and sand them and wear something on your arm so that you don't hurt yourself while you're training this trick. Okay, so if you want your dog to sit pretty and put their paws up on the couch as the beginning step of the Say Your Prayers, you've got to teach them to do a tucked sit, which is where they pull their back feet towards their front feet. What can happen is most people train a sit where they lure the dog back and they take a step back, but as you can see, if you do that near the bed, they're going to sit back, rock back, and then they're not going to be able to reach the bed with their front paws. So teaching a tucked sit is a great idea, and one way of teaching it is luring the dog as you walk backwards and then asking them to sit and pulling the treat up this way so that they're tucking more than lifting the treat over their head so that they rock back into the sit. Good job. I like to give the 2 different sits a name. So the rock back sit is sit, and the tuck sit is tuck. Awesome. To get your dog to do a sit near the bed, I am going to start out just by sitting here and showing her that I want the tuck sit in front of the bed before I ask for paws up. Paws up? Trish, paws up. Awesome. Awesome. Get it. Paws up. Sit. Yes. Paws up. Good job. Tuck. Paws up. Awesome. Sit pretty. Awesome. Yes. If you're having the problem where your dog is just jumping onto the prop every time you go near it, you can lure the dog in front of the prop, yes, and just mark your dog, yes, for not jumping up first. Yes. And standing still. And then, once they're standing still, lure them forwards, yes. Or use a target to lure them forwards. Yes, and then mark them for keeping their paws up. Yes.
Step 2. Work on the head position.
Once your dog can offer the paws up behavior, you can then work on the head position. Trish, paws up. Good job. So you can either use a lure or ask your dog to touch your hand. So you're just going to put your hand between their legs and click your dog for touching your hand. If you hold your hand too low too quickly, your dog's just going to get off the couch. So you have to take it very slowly. So paws up. Awesome. Good job. Touch. Good job. Touch. Awesome. Yes. Yes. This is a lot easier to do when your dog is resting on your arm. So paws up. You can just take the treat and lower it a little bit so that the dog has to look under your arm to see the treat. Awesome. So if you cue the dog to touch and you click and then they lift their head up again, simply feed them in the position where their head was when you clicked. Yes. So this is a safer position than having your dog lean their head all the way through like a monkey, because you can see it stresses their joints on their elbows. So we suggest that you just have your dog hide their eyes under your arm. Yes. And it looks more like they're saying their prayers. Oops.
Step 3. Fade the lure or target and add a verbal cue.
So one way to remove a lure, both paws, is to hold the lure close to the dog's face when you're training the trick, and then move it further away. Yes. And then finally, you're not going to have any treats. Yes. In your hand, but you still go and get one. So, paws up. So the cue for say your prayers is first this hand gesture, where you move your hand down like that. Yes. And then you could add a verbal cue. So you could say, paws up, say your prayers, and then do the hand gesture. Yes. Good job, Smashers. Ready? Say your prayers. Yes. Good job. Say your prayers. Yes. Say your prayers. Yes. Good job.